Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And today we're going to be talking about the new album from Rascal Flatts, titled Rewind. Now I've said before that there was a period in my life where I kind of drifted away from country music. And it wasn't because of any sort of teenage rebellion or any nonsense like that, but there's just a time in my life where mainstream country music on the radio, well, I was just getting nothing out of it. It felt soulless and generic and lacking any sort of genuine emotion or real powerful feeling. And you know what? I hate saying that about a genre that I really do love, but I can't deny the facts that throughout the mid to late 2000s, outside of a very few limited list of artists, I couldn't be less interested in country music. And of the many acts that got huge in that time frame, the band I blame the most is Rascal Flatts. For me, they were always the spiritual successors to Lone Star, in that they performed a lot of soaring, middle-of-the-road, mid-tempo pop country, and had very limited writing credits on their material outside of the Nashville songwriting machine. But unlike Lone Star's Richie McDonald with his pipes and passion to really back up his material, you have Gary Levix, a singer who delivers his middle-of-the-road pablum with a smile as plastic as his music, and a voice that just did nothing for me whatsoever. It's very telling that Rascal Flatts signed a big machine in 2010 and joined with artists affiliated with Taylor Swift, because at their worst, both acts produce the same sort of utterly empty and vapid pop country with not a hint of texture or depth in sight. And thus, I couldn't tell you how much I was dreading doing this review of this album, especially after the lip-syncing debacle at the American Country Music Awards this year, and rumors that their newest album, Rewind, was an attempt to modernize their sound. And even though I've been reasonable with pop country acts in the past, like Keith Urban, Danielle Bradbury, Dan and Shay, and you know what, even Hunter Hayes I mostly gave a pass, but there was nothing you could tell me that would make me think that this album was gonna be remotely close to good. But then that terrible little voice in the back of my head that's actively encouraging me to review Brantley Gilbert's newest atrocity spoke up and whispered, "Dude, you can't judge an album fairly until you give it a chance to prove you wrong." And yeah, that's unfortunately true. So I picked up Rascal Flatts' Rewind over, continuing to work through the Swans discography for their new album that's getting all sorts of critical acclaim, or revisiting Mariah Carey's discography in preparation for her new album, which looks pretty good, or even just re-listening to Sturgill Simpson's new record for the dozenth time, because that album just has so much country awesomeness exploding out of every pore. So instead of doing all those, I picked up Rascal Flatts. Was it worth it? Well, if I'm being completely honest here, it kinda was, but not for the reason you might be thinking, because I'll be blunt and say that Rewind by Rascal Flatts, it's not good in the slightest. In fact, there's pretty large chunks of it that are pretty damn bad. But you know what, it's the kind of bad that doesn't show any sort of malicious intent or anything beyond just hopping on a bandwagon and not being able to effectively pull it off. In other words, there are bro country tracks on this Rascal Flatts album, and I don't think I've ever heard an artist failed this hard at this particular subgenre as they do here, to the point where I just can't take it seriously. It just becomes funny to me. So, in other words, I can't hate this album so much as I just want to point and laugh. By no means an endorsement of quality or recommendation, mind you, but it was fun to listen through in the same way that watching The Room or Winter's Tale is enjoyable. You just watch the catastrophe unfold. So yeah, it's one of those albums. So okay, let's start with the least objectively bad part of this, that being the instrumentation. And look, it's pop country. I knew what I was getting going in with no weight in the guitars, the drum machines that inevitably crop up, the obvious pitch correction in the vocals, the production sanded down to be completely devoid of texture, a selection of generic classical instruments for the ballads and all-purpose uplifting songs. You all get the picture. We've all been to this rodeo before. But what becomes a little interesting, and really kind of funny, is that pseudo-rock instrumentation that Rascal Flatts tries to bring in. To be blunt, I've heard harder and more convincing rock energy from One Direction than I hear from Rascal Flatts on this album. I'm not joking. And it makes their entirely all too earnest attempts at bro swagger absolutely hilarious. And on that note, the harmonized backing vocals, they don't do a lot to dispel the imagery of a lightweight pop country boy band. And like most prepackaged boy bands, the melodies on this Rascal Flatts album are almost cartoonishly simple and rarely bringing any sort of gravitas and power to the table, which which you would normally expect to carry through if you have such simple melodies. Now, it's not saying all of them are bad. I like powerful stuff. It's had some rollicking energy to it that was somewhat unique, but most of these compositions are so painfully basic that they just aren't memorable in the slightest. None of them stuck in the brain for me. Now, to be somewhat fair here, it's not as if Rascal Flatts and their arsenal of songwriters, it's not like they weren't trying. But then again, on a record with precisely 0 writing credits from the band and over 30 separate songwriters contributing material to this album, you're not looking at anything besides a disjointed mess. That's gonna happen. Now, that's not saying that there aren't some good moments. Eric Paslay's natural grasp of cadence and strong sentiments, they nearly single-handedly redeem Rewind from its god-awful guitar tone and continue to prove that Eric Paslay is one of the best songwriters in mainstream country. Then you got Riot, that tries and mostly works well to remake Jake Owen's Life at the Party from last year, but then misses the mark by having no real stakes in the song. And then you have Night of Our Lives, which tries to go for hookup drama and mostly works in the lyrics, if nowhere else. But the songwriting on this album is where things also can get pretty damn bad in a hurry. It's telling that the outright lie of "I Never Been to Memphis" is probably one of the moments where the songwriting on this album is actually stronger. Because I like the sound of that, DJ Tonight, Honeysuckle Lazy, and The Mechanic. There's some serious duds. It just becomes laughable. I like that sound of that. It tries to make hooking up with this girl sound like fun, and praises the girl in question by saying, "You sing along with some Timberlake bumping, but he ain't got nothing on you." Now, call me crazy, but wouldn't you want to compare your female friend to, a female singer instead of, Justin Timberlake? Because there's a very implicit mixed message that comes up with that comparison, just saying. Or take the song like The Mechanic, which has lines, "When you cry, you're the sexiest clown I've ever seen." Now, outside of women I know who are actually in that profession, calling somebody a sexy clown, that's not exactly a turn on. It's just kind of cheesy and lame. And hell, even the woman who I know is a clown wouldn't like the following line, "When I'm a sinner, you're a King James." Okay, so you're comparing your woman to a book with genocide, incest, mass war, and the entire book of Leviticus? Okay, look, I know I'm overanalyzing this, and I get the sentiments here, but there had to have better ways to execute it. That just shows problems in the songwriting. And that's not even counting the obvious bro country tracks like the hookup song, "I'm on Fire," and the sleazy revenge song, "Payback," where Gary Levix just sneers his way through a song laughing at his hookup's ex. Yeah, number one, you shouldn't be doing that. Number two, real classy, dude. Not flattering at all. And you know what, really? Levix is the continuously biggest issue with this album. I've never been a fan of his voice, even with the gratuitous pitch correction. But on this album, he's required to carry songs that demand a little bit more of an edge, or at least emotional range, and it's stunning how badly he completely bungles them. I might not like Luke Bryan's brand of obnoxious bro country, but he would at least sound somewhat convincing on sleazy songs like Honeysuckle Lazy and Payback, other than Lennox's very earnest tenor. But even then, on songs where Lennox has tried to really step up and belt or sound invested on songs like Life's a Song, you can tell that he's never really pushing himself or showing real texture or weight and dramatic force in his voice, almost to the point where I'm starting to wonder whether or not he's in on the joke behind some of the god-awful songwriting on display, which arguably makes some of the songs even less tolerable and just more tedious. If he's in on the joke, it's not as funny. But in the end, though, I have no idea who this record is for. Rascal Flatts' brand has been making bland, mid-tempo pop country for over a decade now, so why switch up the formula when your version of bro country is somehow even more sterile and lifeless than the majority, than the average, than the established brand? I get that there's a need to modernize with the times and evolve, and on that note, I'll be the first to admit that Rascal Flatts, they might not just be for me. And if you, for some reason, find this engaging, I'm not going to take that away from you. But at the same time, outside of maybe powerful stuff and maybe Night of Our Lives, this album is a complete wash, a real dud for me. 4 out of 10, no recommendation, unless you're looking for something of a laugh at some of the missteps on display, which was all I get out of it. But otherwise, there's a lot better pop country out there that you don't have to laugh at than this. And while Rascal Flatts were intolerable enough to drive me away from the country genre this time, they certainly don't help matters with every album that they release. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. If there's anything I might be able to do to improve my presentation, or if there's any other albums coming up this year that you'd like me to take a look at, I'd be more than happy to give them a listen. So until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.